Pete Rose did not follow the conventional path to the major leagues. After being born on April 14, 1941, he lived out his childhood in Cincinnati, Ohio, excelling on the field in both baseball and football. But unfortunately for him, he did not have the same success in the classroom. However, as a senior in high school, he joined a baseball team in the Dayton Amateur League. Though he was undoubtedly the best player there, he never received any attention from professional scouts. That was until Rose's uncle, who worked as a scout for the Cincinnati Reds, pleaded Rose's case to be accepted into the Reds minor league system. And it worked. After 3 years dominating the minor leagues, Rose got called up to the MLB, starting a career of greatness to come. His playing style was something that few had seen before, and it earned him the nickname Charlie Hustle, while he was still just a young player in the league.
And he hits a high drive into deep right. That was way back, and it is gone. He hits the first pitch for a home run. And the Reds lead very quickly, 1-0.
Right from the start of Pete Rose's career, he was winning awards. After getting called up to the major leagues in 1963, he won the award of Rookie of the Year. According to Baseball Reference's statistics on Pete Rose, he played 24 years professionally, collecting 4,256 hits over his tenure in the league. To put that in perspective, that's almost 100 more hits than the second most, Ty Cobb, and over 1,000 more hits than the highest active player, Albert Pujols. He was an All-Star 17 times in his career, which is tied for 7th most all-time. He won the World Series 3 times and was World Series MVP 1 time, as well as League MVP once in 1973. Though this alone is impressive, it goes deeper than that. According to many of Pete Rose's opponents, his grit was unmatched. Even though he knew that he wasn't the most talented player, he would outwork everyone else. He even said, quote, "Willie Mays could throw better, and Hank Aaron could hit more home runs. But I've got enthusiasm, I've got desire, I've got hustle." Don't believe it? Watch what he does to this catcher in the All-Star game.
The game was tied in the bottom of the 12th when Charlie Hustle rounded third looking to score on a Jim Hickman single. And suddenly, Ray Fosse was all that stood between Rose and a National League win. The collision left Fosse with a separated shoulder, and Rose unapologetic about his effort to win.
Though no one would have foreseen it, Rose became a superstar. Not to mention, he was on one of the greatest baseball teams of all time, the Cincinnati Reds of the 1970s, or as they're more commonly known, the Big Red Machine. 2 of Rose's World Series victories came with this team, but then in 1978, Rose decided to take his talent to the Philadelphia Phillies, where he then won another World Series in 1980. He was on the Montreal Expos for a short period of time, and then decided to return to the Reds as a player-manager, where he would break the all-time hit record on September 11, 1985.
2-1 pitch from Schaus into left center. There it is! Rose has eclipsed Cobb. That's number 4,192.
After retiring, he continued to manage the Reds, where he had a decent record of 426 and 388. However, as he continued to manage, things started to take an unfortunate turn for Pete Rose. Pete Rose loved baseball. As a matter of fact, there was only one thing Pete Rose loved more than baseball. It was gambling. And he gambled a lot. In fact, when the IRS found Pete Rose's betting slips, he was betting $8,000 to $10,000 a day betting on his own baseball games. When this was discovered, it was a reminder of the notorious Black Sox scandal, where the White Sox intentionally lost a World Series to make money for the corrupt people they were in the pockets of. Some household names were involved in this scandal, namely Shoeless Joe Jackson, but 8 players total were accused of having a hand in this scandal. These players were all permanently banned from the sport of baseball as a whole, which included a ban from the Hall of Fame. But Charles Comiskey, the owner of the 1919 Chicago White Sox team, who was knowingly involved, actually has a plaque right in the heart of the Hall of Fame for some reason. Section D of Major League Baseball's Rule 21 states, any player, umpire, or club, or league official, or employee who shall bet any sum whatsoever upon any baseball game in connection with which the bettor has a duty to perform shall be declared permanently ineligible. So Comiskey should be banned too, right? After hearing this, things don't look too good for Pete. It looks like he's going to get the boot too. And as a matter of fact, on August 23rd, 1989, that's exactly what happened. However, one phrase in Rule 21 makes Pete Rose's case a little different. Here's the thing. When Rose bet on baseball, he bet on his own team to win every single game. The rule states that the bettor, who would be Rose in this case, quote, has a duty to perform. Pete Rose wanted his team to win. He was a competitor, and he bet on his team because of the confidence that he had in himself and his teammates. He did not have a duty to win the games because he would try to win regardless of whether or not he put money on it, as we had seen early on in his career before he gambled, where he earned his iconic nickname. It's Charlie Hustle, in case you forgot. Anyways, the point of the game is to win, and Pete Rose was just very confident in his team. It's not like he can fix the outcome, because he lost a lot. Like a lot. In fact, according to the Los Angeles Associated Press, he went to jail for 5 months on account of tax fraud because he was in crippling debt to his bookies. Rose lost so much money on betting that he had to auction off lots of his memorabilia, including one of his World Series rings and the bat that he used when he broke the all-time hit record. Yeah, that bat. This being said, Rose technically never broke Rule 21, Section D of baseball. He should be allowed in the Hall of Fame.
That's number 4,192.
Okay, fine. I guess you could also say that Pete Rose technically broke Rule 21D of baseball. But there are plenty of rule breakers or just all-around terrible guys in the Hall of Fame, many of whom are actually worse than Pete Rose. Players such as the man who segregated baseball, Cap Anson, the suspected KKK member, Rogers Hornsby, or even the horribly mean and racist Ty Cobb, all have their own spots in the Hall of Fame. Remember Ty Cobb, the man whose record Rose beat? Yeah, that guy. Whitey Ford, a Hall of Fame pitcher, talked about how he cheated to help himself win in games by cutting the baseballs with his ring. Not to mention, players all over the league took steroids during Pete Rose's tenure in the league, including the home run king Barry Bonds. I mean, look at him before and after steroids. Just look! However, some players never got caught for this through drug tests, and thus many have found their way into the Hall as well, such as Ivan Pudge Rodriguez or Jeff Bagwell, who were both inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2017. Sure, these guys didn't break any official MLB rules, but their spot puts a bit of a damper on the type of people that the committee allows into the Hall of Fame. Considering that these people found their way into the Hall, what's stopping Pete Rose from getting the same treatment? The system is undeniably flawed. Either all of the deserving players get in regardless of their behavior off the field, or all of the people who have had their images tainted by off-field issues should be removed or barred from entry from the start. In the case of Pete Rose, it was just an unfortunate case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was the first big-name player to get caught for gambling since the 1919 White Sox, and so Rose was ultimately deemed the one to be the example for everyone going forward. Gambling will not be tolerated by the MLB. Well, kind of. MGM just recently joined the MLB as their official gambling partner on November 27, 2018. So why can't the committee reevaluate Pete Rose's case? They made a point that gambling was not accepted through Rose, and then went directly against it. It's unfortunate, but that's likely the case. Hopefully one day, Rose will get his chance to see his way into the Hall of Fame. One of the greatest baseball players of all time should get the recognition he deserves, regardless of what he does off the field. They already made exceptions for some people anyways. Unfortunately for us, it won't be anytime soon. At least not while Rob Manfred is the commissioner of the league. He actually said that he would not allow it, by the way. Until the day that Pete Rose gets to enter the Hall of Fame for real, we'll just have to live with the Skechers Super Bowl commercial of him in the Hall.
Hi, Pete Rose here, in the Hall. I love being in the hall. It's the perfect place to walk down memory lane in my Skechers Relax Fit shoes.
Pete, you're not supposed to be in the hall.
Even at home?